Only 5 friends truly matter in old age. Are you choosing the right ones? Elderly advice. When we're young, friends are everywhere. At work, in the neighborhood, in school halls and weekend gatherings. But then time passes, and one day, you stop and ask, who's still here? Aging doesn't come with a warning. It arrives quietly, through fewer phone calls, disappearing names, and long afternoons with no knock at the door. That's when you realize it's not about how many people you know. It's about one simple, powerful question: who will truly stand by you when everything changes? In this video, we'll explore that question deeply, not with a list of friends, but with a look into the rare kinds of people who remain, the ones who don't just pass time with you, but give it meaning. If you've ever wondered who really belongs in your life as you grow older, stay with us. What you hear today might just change the way you see your relationships forever. Number 1, a friend who listens without judgment. As we grow older, something becomes strikingly clear. It's not the number of people around us that matters, but the presence of just a few true friends, those who truly listen. Not to fix, not to judge, not to interrupt, just to be there and listen. And in this noisy world, such a friend is more valuable than gold. Have you ever talked to someone and felt truly heard, not corrected, not rushed, not dismissed? That kind of listening is rare, but when it happens, it feels like being seen after a long time in the dark. It says you still matter. You are still valuable. Let me tell you the story of Margaret, a graceful woman of 77. After decades, she reunited with her old friend Helen, someone she hadn't spoken to in over 25 years. And in that quiet cafe, over warm tea and soft laughter, Margaret realized something profound. She missed being listened to more than she ever knew. Not just being talked with, but truly, deeply listened to. Helen didn't interrupt. She didn't offer unsolicited advice. She simply sat there, eyes kind, ears open, and heart fully present. Margaret later said, "At my age, I don't need someone to fix my problems. I just need a witness to my life." And that's it, isn't it? As we age, we don't necessarily need answers. We need someone to understand where we've been and who we've become. Real listening is one of the rarest and most generous gifts anyone can offer. The writer Ernest Hemingway once said, "I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. Most people never listen." And sadly, he was right. In today's world of distractions, finding someone who listens, not just to reply, but to understand, is like finding a hidden treasure. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly heard? When was the last time someone made you feel like your words were worth their time, without checking their phone or finishing your sentences for you? And more importantly, do you have that kind of friend in your life? If so, treasure them. Call them today. Tell them how much that means to you. And if you don't yet have someone like that, keep your heart open. You deserve it. You deserve someone who listens to you not out of obligation, but because they care. And let me ask you another question. Are you that kind of friend to others? Can you be the one who listens with compassion, with patience, without judgment? Because being that friend doesn't just help others, it nourishes your soul too. Philosopher Epictetus once reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. It's wisdom that becomes more powerful with age. In the end, as our bodies slow down, our memories fade, and the pace of life changes, we will not remember all the advice we were given, but we will remember those who sat beside us, nodded gently, and simply listened. So today, take a moment to reflect. Who are your true friends? And are you being one in return? If you found value in this story and believe others in your age group need to hear it too, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We share inspiring life lessons, heartfelt stories, and practical advice to help you live with purpose, peace, and dignity in every stage of life. Subscribe now to stay connected with stories that matter to your heart. Number 2, a friend who always checks and asks regularly. Have you ever stopped to wonder, when the noise of youth quiets down, When your children have grown up and your career no longer defines your daily rhythm, who will still be there for you? Not the ones who only text on your birthday, not the ones who only show up during celebrations, but the ones who remember you on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, simply because you matter to them. Those are the friends truly worth holding on to. Let me tell you the story of George, a 71-year-old retiree living in a peaceful town just outside the city. Every Sunday afternoon, without fail, George receives a short call from his old fishing buddy, Frank. Their conversations aren't long or profound. Sometimes it's just, "How's the garden?" or "Caught any fish lately?" But for George, that call is something he looks forward to all week. "I may not hear from many people these days," he says, "but I know Frank's voice is coming every Sunday. It reminds me I still matter." It's in these small, seemingly insignificant actions that true friendship is revealed. A short message, a simple phone call. Those gestures might feel minor, but they carry incredible emotional weight. They say, "I remember you. You're not forgotten." As William James once said, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated." And my friend, if you don't yet have someone like that in your life, someone who checks in without a reason, why not be that person first? Think of someone you once shared laughter with, someone you used to talk to often, but have lost touch with. What if they're also waiting for someone to reach out? What if your message could be the highlight of their week? Friendship in later life doesn't need grand gestures. It needs presence, consistency, a simple check-in that says, "Hey, I'm here." One message a week could change someone's mood. One regular call could help someone feel seen. You don't have to wait for them to need help. Sometimes people just need to be remembered. So who are the people who still remember you? Not just when things go wrong or when there's a reason to celebrate, but even when nothing's happening at all. Who are the friends that make the ordinary feel meaningful? Philosopher Khalil Gibran once wrote, "Friendship is always a sweet responsibility, never an opportunity." And he was right. Real friendship isn't based on convenience, it's based on care. The friends who matter most are not the ones who show up when life is exciting. They're the ones who stay when it's quiet, who call when there's nothing urgent to say, just a shared silence or a laugh from an old memory. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, this is the perfect time to reflect on the relationships you carry into this chapter of life. Who's still checking in? Who lights up when they hear your voice? Who would notice if you disappeared for a few days? Those are the friendships worth investing in. And if you find that list is shorter than you hoped, don't be discouraged. Begin with one. You don't need many friends in your older years. You just need a few who are truly genuine. A few who don't need a reason to reach out. And maybe you can be the one who sends that first message. The one who remembers birthdays and Mondays. The one who says, "I'm thinking of you," even when nothing special is happening. Because friendships, like gardens, need tending. A relationship you water today may bloom just when you need shade the most. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you reached out to someone just to say hello? Not for news, not for gossip, but simply to remind them you care? Could someone in your life use that call right now? And more importantly, are you being the friend you wish you had? Number 3, a friend who shares values and maturity. Have you ever stopped to think who will truly stand beside you as you grow older? Not out of obligation, not because of family ties, but because they genuinely understand and value who you are becoming. At some point in life, we all realize that it's not the number of friends that matters, but the quality. In fact, when it comes to aging gracefully and meaningfully, there are only a few kinds of friends that truly matter. And one of the most important is the friend who shares your values and helps you grow. Let me tell you the story of Margaret, a 78-year-old woman with a sharp mind and a heart full of questions. She wasn't looking for someone to pass time with or fill the silence. What she longed for was a meaningful connection. Someone who could see the world through a similar lens. Someone who could grow with her. And then, during a quiet book discussion at her local library, she met Helen. Their eyes lit up over a shared love for literature. But what truly bonded them was something deeper. A mutual passion for kindness, honesty, faith, and inner strength. That's when Margaret realized, even in your 70s or 80s, you're still becoming, still evolving. And a valuable friend isn't just someone who shares your past. It's someone who challenges you to become a better version of yourself today. Can you think of someone like that in your own life? Someone who listens not just to respond, but to understand? Someone who encourages you to reflect, to stay curious, to keep growing. The truth is, as we age, casual conversations lose their charm. What we crave is resonance, conversations that reach the soul, friendships that inspire thought, and people who help us become more than we were yesterday. A friend who shares your core values isn't just a comfort, they're a compass. They remind you who you are and who you still have the potential to become. Think about the last time someone made you think deeply about life, about faith, about purpose. That's not small talk, that's growth. And that's exactly what Margaret found in Helen. Through their weekly discussions, they didn't just talk about books, they explored ideas, wrestled with questions, and cheered each other on in their individual journeys of wisdom. A true friend like this doesn't mock your fears about aging or dismiss your reflections. Instead, they hold space for you. They say, "You're still growing. You're still learning. And I see you." As the famous writer George Eliot once said, "It is never too late to be what you might have been." That quote, often overlooked, holds profound truth for those in their golden years. Because aging is not the end of growth, it is its most refined stage. And the people you surround yourself with during this time matter more than ever. When you find a friend who reflects your core, your kindness, your beliefs, your resilience, you've found someone who helps you stay alive in the truest sense. They challenge your thinking, deepen your empathy, and keep your spirit young. Even if the body slows down, the mind and heart can remain vibrant, but only if you nourish them with the right company. So I'll ask again, do you have someone in your life who encourages you to keep growing? Someone who respects your values and helps you feel truly seen? If not, it's never too late. Seek out spaces where thoughtful conversations happen. Join a book group, attend a local event, or simply strike up a conversation with someone who looks just as curious about life as you are. And if you already have someone like that, hold on to them. Nurture that connection, because when the noise of the world fades, these quiet, meaningful friendships are what will stay with you. As the saying goes, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That's especially true in our later years. Surround yourself with people who want to keep growing, and you'll never grow old in spirit. If this message resonates with you and you're looking for more life lessons, real stories, and practical advice for thriving in your golden years, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let's build a community of wisdom, kindness, and growth together. Number 4, a friend appears when life gets tough. As we grow older, one truth begins to shine brighter than ever. You don't need a crowd, you just need a few loyal souls who stay when life turns dark. In youth, we often gather friends like trophies, people to laugh with, party with, and celebrate successes with. But as the years go by and life throws its harshest trials, illness, loss, loneliness, you realize something profound. Only a few will remain. And those few are your real friends. Let me ask you this. When your life no longer shines with success or excitement, who will still stand beside you? It's a simple question, yet the answer reveals so much about the depth and value of your relationships. Take the story of Richard, a 78-year-old man who recently lost his wife after 48 years of marriage. During their younger years, Richard and his wife were surrounded by friends, neighbors, old colleagues, people they'd spent decades with. But after her passing, most of them drifted away. Phone calls stopped. Invitations disappeared. It was as if Richard had become invisible. All except for one man, Tom. Tom didn't come with words of advice or try to offer comfort in cliché phrases. He didn't say everything happens for a reason or you'll feel better soon. Number. He simply showed up, sat down beside Richard, and stayed. For hours, sometimes in silence. No expectations, no small talk, just presence. And in moments of deep grief, that presence was more healing than any words could ever be. You see, when life becomes a storm, you don't need someone to fix the rain. You need someone who's willing to walk with you through it. You don't need 100 people clapping when things go well. You need one person who won't leave when everything falls apart. So let me ask you again, do you have someone who would just show up for you, no matter what? In the age of social media and constant noise, it's easy to mistake attention for connection. You might have hundreds of followers, dozens of group chats, countless likes. But when real pain hits, how many of them will actually knock on your door? The answer might surprise you. As we age, the value of friendship shifts. It's not about frequency, but about depth. Not about how often someone texts you, but how deeply they care when you're hurting. A true friend may not be seen every day, but they're there when it matters. Helen Keller once said, "I would rather walk with a friend in the dark than alone in the light." And that's the kind of friendship we need in our later years. The kind that walks with you, sits with you, stays with you, even when there's nothing left to say. If you're lucky enough to have a friend like Tom, treasure them. And if you're wondering whether you have that kind of person in your life, take a moment to reflect. Have you been that person for someone else? Because real friendship isn't just about receiving, it's also about showing up, even when it's inconvenient, even when there's nothing to gain. In times of sorrow, a friend who listens without judgment, who doesn't try to fix you, who simply says, "I'm here," that friend is more valuable than gold. That friend becomes the anchor in the storm, the silent reassurance that you are not alone. And if you feel you don't have a friend like that yet, don't despair. It's never too late to build meaningful relationships. Start small, reach out, be present, show someone they matter. Because friendship in old age isn't about numbers. It's about depth, trust, and consistency. As Aristotle once said, "A true friend is a single soul dwelling in two bodies." And in old age, when the noise of the world fades and we are left with only the essentials, having even one soul like that by your side is everything. So if you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, now is the time to cherish the ones who stayed. Look around, not for the loudest, but for the truest. Keep those few close, because when the road becomes rough, they'll be the ones still walking beside you. Not out of obligation, but out of love. There are only a few real friends you can rely on in old age. Don't choose the wrong ones. And more importantly, don't forget to be that friend yourself. Number 5, a friend who makes you be yourself. No acting, no forcing. In old age, the most valuable friend is not the one who makes us laugh the loudest or has the most connections. It's the one who allows us to be fully, unapologetically ourselves. The friend who doesn't expect us to always be cheerful, smart, or strong. The one who accepts our silence as easily as our stories, our sighs as naturally as our smiles. Around them, we don't need to perform. We can be honest, imperfect, even a little broken, and still be loved. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt safe enough to speak without filtering your words? When could you tell a half-finished story and still feel understood? When was the last time you sighed deeply and didn't fear being judged? Let me share a story that might resonate with you. Mr. Dung, 81 years old, spent most of his life as a respected company director. People still call him boss out of habit, still speak to him with deference, but always from a distance. Only one person speaks to him without pretense: Kai, his childhood friend from high school. Kai looked at him one day and said, "Dung, you don't have to pretend anymore. I'm friends with you, not with your title." And in that moment, something shifted. For the first time in years, Mr. Dung allowed himself to exhale, to speak about his regrets without shame, to admit his fears without needing to defend himself. Because with Kai, he was no longer the director or the boss. He was simply himself. That is the kind of friendship we all need in our later years. A friend who sees through the labels, who doesn't care about accomplishments or appearances. Someone who recognizes your true self and stays, even when you feel you have nothing left to prove or offer. Some people make you feel like you're acting in a play, even in your own life. But then, there are those rare individuals who help you return to your most authentic, unfiltered self. And those people are precious. They're not dazzled by your image, not held back by your past. They don't measure your worth by what you've achieved, but by who you are inside. Old age isn't just about retirement or declining health. It's the journey of returning home, to your truest self. And that journey becomes lighter, gentler, and more meaningful when you have someone walking beside you who doesn't judge, doesn't expect, and doesn't demand, just accepts. As the philosopher Albert Schweitzer once said, at times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lit the flame within us. In this chapter of life, it's not about how many friends you have, but about having the right one. And the right one is the friend who makes it safe for you to be real, to be vulnerable, to be tired, to be joyful, to be you. If you already have someone like that in your life, hold on to them tightly. If not, keep your heart open, because the later years of life aren't the end of meaningful relationships. In fact, they can be the beginning of the most honest and peaceful ones. And sometimes to find that kind of friend, we must first be that kind of friend for others. Confucius once said, "Isn't it a joy to have friends come from afar?" But true joy only comes when those friends see you, not for your titles, achievements, or roles, but for the person you are underneath it all. So let me ask again, who is that one person with whom you don't have to pretend? Who lets you be quiet, broken, or lost, and stays anyway? And if you haven't found them yet, would you be willing to become that kind of friend first, so that when the time comes, your own soul will be met with the same grace? Growing old doesn't have to be lonely. If you have someone who accepts your size, your silence, and your truth, that's not just a friend, that's a blessing.